What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Rehab Road Trips. I'm Jeremy Miller.
I'm Dallas Terrell.
Dallas, what are we doing today, bro?
Dude, today we are meeting up with our good friend Kian. We're going to shoot a testimonial video talking about his experience over at Elevate Addiction Services treatment center in our local area. We're really excited to hear about what he got from the program, and let's do it.
Brandon Draco with the kickback, bitch. Had to go to Georgia just to bust my wrist. Don't fuck with Key, you got ties in the shit. With the mob and the land and the gang. With my homies sipping smoking propane. Every day, yeah, they looking for a stain. Matter of fact, yeah, you better watch your chain. Fucking with Key, you like fucking with the mob. If I really lay your chain, we gon' run up at your job. I be inside Gucci, I don't ever be a monster. If you really wanna do it, we could really pop off. If you want smoke, you gon' get smoke. Now I'm really living, yeah, I'm leading off a fold. You already know, keep out of puzzle mode. Xanax and them perkies got me feeling hella slow. And your bitch hit the stool, and she acting like a hoe.
Check it out, Kian. We have from now until the beach to tell your whole backstory. So, the floor is yours, man.
All right.
Where do we start?
It all starts for me like when I was like a young
lad.
You know, when I, because like being like I was super overweight as a kid. You know, I never felt like I fit in.
Mm-hmm.
So like I always had to constantly like try and do different things because you know how we all think like, oh, these people don't like me, or it's all in our head, you know.
For sure.
And we all like, we tend to like believe that stuff.
Yeah.
So I just believed, I was like, all right, cool, like I'm fat, like girls really don't like me, it's hard for me to make friends, like
Yeah.
I need something to make me different. And I think I mean, it started with me, you know, making music and like being fat, and I was playing like the piano
In high school?
yeah, and like I barely would, no, in middle school.
Middle school,
And,
okay.
like maybe like going into freshman year, but I learned to play piano when I was super young. But like I don't
Started
know.
rough, you were behind the curve.
Exactly.
Got it.
Like so fat that like I had trouble sitting on the piano bench, you know.
There's no cars, we could cross, guys.
Like
We're good.
I took up the piano bench as like a 14-year-old kid, like, and that's a pretty lengthy bench. And
Oh, wow. Okay.
so like playing piano, and I was like, all right, well, the piano's lame. Like my parents are always making me practice, and I hate practicing. Like I didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, I want to play guitar. So my parents went, you know, again, I grew up really wealthy. My parents gave me everything I needed, tutors, everything.
Okay.
I wanted the guitars. I went and spent a bunch of money on nice guitars, and like I didn't get into that either because I just hated to practice. And I was also in choir.
You're in choir, you have a good voice, that's why.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I could sing, you know. So I was like, I was a fat kid in choir, already didn't think I was cool. So I was like, all right, well, none of this is really helping. And then, you know, I was growing up in Oakland, Berkeley, and like the hip hop scene was super prevalent. You
Okay.
know, like HBK, Burner, like that's what I like listening to. So, I mean, in high school, I just started like, you know, like the normal high schooler. I smoked weed, I drank here and there, and then I started smoking weed a lot, just listening to a bunch of rap music. And then when my friends and I, we'd be in like the car smoking weed late at night, we'd like play beats and we'd freestyle. And some of my friends were just like, dude, like you're really good. And like that was kind of like the first time for me, at least, that I felt any sort of like validation from other people.
Yeah.
You know,
felt
and I was
cool,
yeah,
felt
I was
liked,
like,
felt accepted.
yeah, I was like, I like this. You know, I like how this feels. Like they like me for something.
Right.
You know, and
Okay.
and at that point, I was also just getting fatter and fatter. You know, like my parents
Yeah.
would put me on all these diets, like Jenny Craig, and you know, I would just go eat with my friends when I was with them because I was high. You know,
Yeah.
I'd be eating a bunch of ice cream and like Mexican food. So
That's
I just,
your go-tos?
That's just go-to ice cream.
That's
Mexican
still
food.
my go-to.
Dude, yeah. Hey, you're right. Even today, you're right. Yesterday I had ice
Some
cream.
things
Mexican
don't
food.
change.
No, some things don't change. But lives change.
That's true.
Amen, bro.
We're about to get into that part.
Yeah, so I mean, I started making music, and I was really talented at it. You know, I was
Yeah.
able to make songs, you know, like catchy songs, and I had the money and the means to go to a nice studio, you know, get nice beats. So I started kind of making hip hop music, and I made a song. I remember I was like 17. I made a song for Draymond Green on the Warriors.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it was all about Draymond Green, and like I posted it out there, and it got like a couple 100,000 plays on SoundCloud. No promotion, no anything. I just put it out there.
And the Warriors were super trendy.
Yeah,
back
the Warriors.
then.
That's when they were good, you know. And Draymond Green was when he was kind of like peaking. Like everyone was like, "Oh, Draymond." So his mom tweeted about it and was like, "Yo, like this kid, this like Bay Area rapper." I wasn't shit, you know. I was nothing, but she was like, "This Bay Area rapper like made a song for my son about the Warriors," and like she tweeted about it, and then he tweeted about it, and they linked my Instagram to those tweets, and then I just started getting a bunch of followers. You know, I had like 50,000 followers when I was like 18 years old, going into college. I didn't get into anywhere except the University of Arizona.
That's all right. It's a good school.
Yeah, I was going there. I mean, it was a big school. That's also kind of what helped me. But
big school, big party school.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I got in, I was like, all right, cool. Like I have this many followers. That's my thing. That's gonna make people like me, you know, because people would just be like, oh, look at his followers. Like he makes music, and that was my like little it factor that made me like feel a lot better about myself. You know, that didn't make me feel as insecure about my weight and like about the other things that I currently was thinking about.
At that point, you're in college now, right?
Yeah.
You're a little bit famous.
Yeah.
Are you using drugs? Are you smoking weed?
I'm smoking a lot of weed all the time. And then that's when I got introduced to Xanax.
Oh, okay,
and I think that was the first like drug that I took that I was like, oh, I like this, you know. And I started taking Xanax all the time, you know, and me being super naive, growing up in like a really sheltered area, not really knowing anything about drugs or any education about it, I took Xanax all the time. And then one day I just didn't take Xanax, you know, because I didn't have any and I didn't really want to. I was like, all right, I'm not going to take Xanax today.
Gotcha.
And I got sick. I was going through withdrawals, obviously, but like I had no idea what drug withdrawals were. And at that point too, I was huge. I was like really big.
How big?
I was probably like 350.
Gotcha.
330. Yeah,
pretty
330
big.
pounds. It got worse. But yeah,
it went up from there.
It went up. It did not go down. It went up for sure.
Okay.
And, yeah. Again, I was like, yo, dude, like, I've been taking this Xanax and I feel like I'm sick like a dog. I think he hit me and he was like, yo, Kian, like, let's hang out. Like, and I'm like, dude, I don't feel it today. And he was like, what's wrong? I was like, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you're probably going through withdrawals. And him himself was like really deep into Xanax.
Oh, okay.
He was really deep into it. And they were just giving it out like candy at our school.
Yeah.
You know, like they were giving it to people. Like you just go and say, I have test taking or presentation anxiety, and they would just give you Xanax prescription. So, yeah, I was like, dude, I feel horrible. He was like, well, I know what you need, Xanax. So then, I don't know. All I knew to fix those sicknesses was to take more Xanax, if that made sense.
Right.
So then I just got super deep into it, and then I was like, well, you know, rappers sip lean all the time. So then I went to the Arizona health doctor person. I was like, I have a cough, I can't sleep. I had my mask on, like I had it whole 9 yards. I had it down to a science, and I was getting prescription like 4 codeine promethazine, you know, that now they'll sell for like $500. I was getting them straight out the doctor. But yeah, I was, you know, just sipping lean all the time and taking Xanax, you know. And then of course, when I couldn't get lean from the doctor, I had to buy it from people in Arizona, you know, and they obviously had Percocet. So it all just kind of
snowballed.
Yeah, it all just snowballed.
College just sped everything up.
Exactly.
Sped up the drug use, sped up the rap scene, the culture, everything.
Yeah, and then
sounds like, right?
And then by that time, I was doing well. I had almost like 150, 100, you know, yeah, like 100, 150,000 followers. You know, I was getting a lot of views on my stories. I got hit up by an agent, Sandra from Los Angeles. She worked for Paradigm, and she was like, yo, like, we'd like to sign you, get you a record deal. Like, what are your thoughts on that? And I was like, dude, let's do it. Like, I don't even like school. I wasn't going to class. I was smoking weed, popping Xan, sipping lean, and popping perks all day. You know, all 3 of them at the same time. So again, I got my record deal, and then I was like, all right, I don't need to be in college anymore. I don't need to be in school. I'm gonna make money. So then I get to Los Angeles, and I've already been taking, you know, a lot of benzos, opiates, and sipping, you know, lean all day. And right when I got that record deal, I saw all this money in my bank account, which I'm supposed to use for things like promotion and studio time and things that are actually going to help me make more money off that money. And I just saw the money, and I remember someone telling me, like, yo, like, when you get that record deal, you know, it's like your lottery. It's a lottery ticket. That's when the hard work should start for you. Well, for me, that's when it stopped. You know, I saw the money, and again, like I told you, I didn't have that it factor. People didn't really like me very much. Then I was like, all right, well, now I have the record deal. I have all this money. So, I mean, I'm going to start taking girls out. I'm going to use this money for drugs. And I was getting all the drugs that I needed all the time. And I think also that's when I, sat down with my label, and I was still super big. And they're like, look, dude, like, we're going to help you out. They were talking to my parents, because my parents they weren't about me doing the music. So whatever my label could do for me that would allow my parents to keep allowing me to do what I was doing, so that they could hopefully make money off of me one day.
Yeah.
They would give my parents like what they wanted, so that they would kind of get off my ass, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, dude, you're really overweight. We're going to get you a gastric bypass surgery. I mean, mainly they just wanted me to look better so that they could sell me.
Right.
So yeah, again, I got the surgery. I was producing an album. I was making an album. I was in and out the studio. Whenever I'd go to the studio, though, I was so high I wouldn't even be able to record. So I'd waste all the studio time. But yeah, and then a year into the record deal, I lost about 150 pounds. I was looking good.
Wow, man. That's
I was able to wear nice clothes. I was able to wear cool clothes. Yeah, different styles. So
stuff you always wanted to wear.
Exactly. So I started having the look now. So then it really all just got to my head, and I was like, dude, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Like, this is awesome. I really stopped caring about making the music, and I just cared about being that fake persona, being that persona, like being the rapper and just walking around in areas with super nice clothes and having nice, flashy jewelry and Gucci and everything, so people would look at him and be like, oh, that dude must be somebody,
So now you officially look the part.
Yeah, then it was all a fake. It was all super fake, because all the music stopped me. Like, I couldn't even record when I got to the studio because I was so high. Then I'd get booked for shows, and I'd be so high they wouldn't even give me a microphone.
Oh, wow.
And they'd lose money there. And
I've been to a couple concerts like that.
Yeah, so, I'm doing that, and I'm having this fake persona. At that point, they're putting a bunch of promotion into my Instagram. I have my Instagram check. I have about 300,000 followers at this time. I got into some legal trouble, and then that's what pushed the label, and my parents were like, all right, I was lucky at the time, I had money, I didn't have to go do jail time. They're like, go to treatment and do some house arrest and you're fine. So that's how I get into treatment the first time. And the whole time I'm in treatment, I'm like, look, like, I just need to get through this as quick as possible, just finish it so I can go back to making music, go back to what I'm doing. I'm not learning anything in treatment. I went through the whole thing. Like, I don't need to be here. I don't do heroin. I don't do meth. Like, my thoughts about treatment and rehab was just like junkies, like people who are like living on the street, like that.
Not
wasn't
people
me.
like you.
No, not
you
people
were different.
I was different always, because I had all this stupid like fallacies that I've made up for myself that like believe, like we tell ourselves so much bullshit that we tend to believe it.
We had this idea of who you were.
Exactly.
And then you had to like keep up the persona that you're this big hip hop artist, drug user. Like, using drugs was cool for you.
Yeah.
So I could see how you were just, it was like checking a box. It was like,
well, drugs like made me, like, I have them tattooed on my body. Like, my whole persona was that I was doing drugs and sipping lean all day and popping all these pills. Like, that's what I showed everybody.
Was your music about that too?
Yeah, it was pretty much.
How do you feel about it now that you're sober, like listening to that music? Is it kind of like nostalgic, or how do you feel about that?
I mean, I still listen to it. Like, even nowadays, like the music that I listen to, like I still listen to the same stuff, like my main thing is like working in recovery and working in treatment. Like, when I share my story with clients and stuff, it's not to be like, oh, look at me, like, look at how great. It's just like, look at, this is where I came from.
Right.
Even though that was me, and it's not me anymore, I don't need to change the way I dress. I don't need to change what I listen to. I don't need to change who I am. I just change what I did.
Yeah.
So I still listen to all that stuff, and I think it's silly, obviously, to watch it, but it's not like I hate it. And I know the truth now. I know that all that stuff is fake, because I was faking it myself. None of it is real.
Being in treatment, I know you went more than once. But the second time, like, what about the program you were at helped you, man? Like, what, like, people watching, whether they're addicted or not, most people don't know what goes on in treatment.
For sure. They have no idea. Yeah.
So it's like they know that if you have a problem, you go to treatment, but they don't know what that looks like. Yeah. They don't know what happens there or what changes happen inside you, dude. Right, Dal?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I would love to just kind of hear your feedback on that.
Yeah, man.
And definitely let the audience know where you went, too, because that's super important. So if something resonates with them about what you said, they know where to go and what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I went to Elevate Addiction Services, and it was the only one that I'd been to, so I knew about it. So the second time, I think what pushed me the second time is I told you about the first time I went to treatment, like not really caring, didn't think I had a problem.
Mm-hmm. You're just there to check the box and get your label off your back and your parents off your back.
Exactly. But then once I did that relapse, and I got dropped from my label, I lost everything. I was like, well, it took me a long time, but like 3 months I was just using in my bed, feeling like crap, like rewatching Netflix shows. Like my life was super depressing.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this sucks. Like how long is this really going to last for?
Mm-hmm.
So I, begged and pleaded to my parents. I was like, look, like I know I have nothing. I have no money. I don't have my music career. Like I don't want that anymore. I just want to get myself back and figure out what I want to do, or just first get myself right so I can figure out what I want to do for myself in the future.
Right.
So luckily enough, I called my my counselor at Elevate, and I was like, look, like I relapsed. I need to come back.
Was it an aftercare counselor?
Yeah,
or was it like your? Oh, okay.
It was aftercare counselor.
Nice.
Yeah,
okay.
I was lying to the aftercare the whole time. I was like, oh yeah, I'm sober, like being super faded, and they always know. But like, what can they do if I'm gonna lie to them?
True.
It was all
That's
on
a good
me.
point.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that they're out there checking up.
Yeah,
on
they were checking
clients
up on me for sure.
And they know that if they call when you do need their help,
you'll reach out.
They'll be there.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Which is perfect.
That makes sense. So yeah, I called. I got my parents to agree. I was like, my parents, they were like, we're not going to send you back to treatment. You go to Kaiser. We have Kaiser. I was like, well, they're just going to put me on like Suboxone.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be stuck on a med to get off of. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So got back into treatment. And this time it was my choice. And I still, was super high using that, my high mind thinking like, oh, like I'm going back to Elevate. Like I need to get as high as possible. So I get so high in the car that I even have drugs sewn into a mask, but like I spill my lean all over myself. I get all pissed off and I'm like, I'm not going to get high. And I was spilt it because I was like nodding out in the car.
Right.
And then I just opened up the mask and took all the drugs, and I overdosed when I got to Elevate. But yeah, I think I got there, and once I sobered up in the cabin, I was thinking, I was like, dude, like my whole life, like I have a nephew that passed away. I have a sister that passed away, both from drug overdoses. And I was like,
Fentanyl?
Yeah, fentanyl. My sister, she overdosed from Percocet. She had Crohn's disease, so she was getting a lot of Percocet. And I was thinking like, dude, my whole life I've been promoting all this negativity, giving myself, in quick. I think I knew what I was doing, but I think I was using drugs so heavily to kind of like numb myself from what my life has really become.
Yeah. So what in the program, what with like the counselors or, the actual curriculum, do you feel impacted your life, motivated you to create change, and like what shifted inside? I mean, it's like hard to speak to because
super difficult. Yeah.
When we like evolve, when we, reconnect with who we were before the drugs, that's a very like subconscious kind of shift.
Yeah.
But if you could, maybe hone in on some of that stuff for people that might be watching.
I mean, I think the main thing for me, right, like in my old life, like I had money, I had women, I had parties, I had everything I wanted, all the things that I thought, that were going to make me happy. I was like, all right, if I have all these things, I'm going to be like that guy who's on social media, like posting his great life. When I had all those things and they really brought me no happiness, I was like, well, what is this? Like I'm working my whole life to get something that I think is going to make me happy and doesn't make me happy. And I think just going and being in treatment and really learning that everybody in there is really all the people that I've met in treatment, and that I help now in treatment, they've all the smartest, we're all creative. Everyone is super driven in some way. It's just we got lost along the way. So I think me being there and just kind of learning like addiction wasn't what I thought it was. That there's like this whole new side about it, like just doing like the soul searching and like really finding who I was and like figuring out that I was promoting all this negativity and everything, trying to paint a cool life, to not showing all the problems that come out of it and seeing how it negatively affected all these people around me that are in treatment, I was like, dude, like, this is like a big problem. Instead of me, and I really felt bad about my past. I felt responsible for my nephew's death. I felt responsible for not, like, I felt like I was slapping my sister in the face, just by using drugs and not caring, and like just being there and wanting to make, like the Elevate really focuses on mindfulness, right? Being in the present moment, not worrying about your past, not forgetting the past, right? But just being able to kind of, like forgive yourself for the past. I think you can agree with me on that.
Yeah.
Like just being in the present moment, like, all right, cool. Like the past happened, the future is what's going to happen. Like all we can focus on is what we're doing right now, and that's what I really liked about Elevate, just knowing about all that matters is this present moment, like what we're doing right now. And like right now, when I was sitting there, I was like, well, I might have not done the right stuff in the past, but I know what I'm doing right now is the right thing.
Yeah.
And that was good enough for you at the time, like being in treatment.
Exactly.
And so you start practicing mindfulness there at Elevate. When did you start experiencing like the benefit from it? Because I've heard from a lot of people at first it's the most difficult thing to do, right? To sit there and be okay with who you are, or be okay with what's existing in your head. When did you start feeling any benefit from that, or did you? Did that come later?
Well, also, with people think, well, like mindfulness, it's like you need to sit and you need to meditate. It's like it's not that. For me, mindfulness was just whatever I could do to like keep myself present and grounded was mindfulness for me. Whether that's working out or painting pictures or whatever it was, you can just like kind of do it mindfully.
Just trying to be more present.
Yeah, it started with the meditation, but like as I started doing more things and I was able to kind of like forgive myself for things that have happened because I knew that I was on a path, like a right path.
Right.
I was able to kind of like practice the idea of just being in the present moment, and that. It was hard in detox because in detox I wasn't even feeling good. I couldn't even close my eyes.
And you're on meds.
Yeah.
You're loopy. You got shame and guilt.
Yeah.
Which leads me to the next question, right? You mentioned having all this shame from your sister and your cousin. And was there anything there specific that helped you address that? Or was that like an internal change? Because that happens too.
Yeah.
You come to rehab and you're like, I need to change.
Yeah.
And I've burned enough boats and bridges that this just has to happen.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the treatment center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything at Elevate that helped you either A, with that realization, or B, with the shame and guilt of the brother or the cousin and the sister? Nephew, sorry.
I mean, the main thing again was just being able to live present, like forgive, again, like I take responsibility, like another thing take responsibility for what you did. Like I take responsibility for being an idiot, right? Being a negative influence on my nephew. But at the end of the day, people make their own decisions, and the counselors, like that was the big thing that I had a hard time dealing with because my brother was like, you should have been the one to overdose, like all these things. And like, I believed it, I was like, you're right. But at the end of the day, like, that's not fair to say to me, and I figured out, like, well, I was a negative influence, but being here, doing what I'm doing right now, like, that's allowing me to make kind of a living amends for all that negative stuff that has happened in the past.
Of course. And so it sounds like the counselors were there to help you just create a space to process that.
Exactly.
I'm sure some days you thought it was your fault.
Yeah.
I'm sure other days you didn't.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're not getting feedback on that, it's hard for you to create a new outlook on the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that, dude. And it's awesome because every person me and Dal talk to, there's like usually kind of one big thing that comes up in treatment that needs work and attention. A lot of time it's shame, it's guilt, it's, core false beliefs, like things we think about ourselves that aren't true. And
combo of all three.
Yeah, dude, or it's everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so if you had to pick like your biggest takeaway from Elevate, what would it be, man?
I'm again, like the biggest takeaway, the biggest realization that I came to was kind of like what I said before. Like I had the money, I had the fame, I had everything, the jewelry, the clothes, everything that people like long to have, and
the
they like
Instagram.
Yeah, the Instagram. Like I had the $30,000 watch, and like, I mean, all that stuff that I thought would bring me happiness and like put me above everybody else, like it didn't, because I knew deep in the back of my head, like none of that stuff really matters. Like when I got to Elevate, you were the one who told me. I remember the first time I was like, dude, I have this many Instagram followers and this, and you were like, all right, like what, like what's
Okay.
so great?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then I was kind of like mad at him. I was like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? Like, but then I figured out, like, dude, none of that shit matters at the end of the day. Like, we're all people. Like, I didn't know who I was. I thought that that's the person that I was, you know, and none of that stuff brought me happiness. But I think, you know, I took away that what I'm doing now and actually being sober, living a good life, working out every day, having a healthy life, you know, helping people while ultimately helping myself first. Like, that's something that actually brings me true happiness. It's something that I'd never felt before. It's like, I don't have to go buy my happiness. I'm getting it for free.
Yeah, man.
You know, I was like, dude, that's cool.
That's what's up, Kian.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so
No
much,
problem.
bro. This was awesome.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, we appreciate you too. I just kind of wanted to comment on like that takeaway. You know, like at the end of the day, most people, when they talk about treatment, in some way or another, they say that they realize it's okay to be them.
Yeah.
It sounds different. It comes off different. But at the end of the day, the core takeaway is like, you off drugs is okay.
Yeah.
And realizing that looks different and all that jazz. But what a sick takeaway.
Yeah.
That's okay to be you.
Yeah, it is.
Dude. And
That's
if it's
what's
okay
up.
to be you, what can we create with that?
That's
Yeah.
what's up, man.
There we go.
My name is Kian. I'm 8 months and 12 days sober, and I really just want to thank my family for never giving up on me and giving me the opportunity so that I can change my life. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Elevate for letting me understand that being myself is okay and that I can live a happy life sober. Thank you.